Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to your favorite live video podcast talking high school football in the state of Michigan. This is Michigan Extra Point Live. My name is Lauren Plant. This is the irrepressible, the untouchable,
irreplaceable,
the unassailable Scott Bernstein. He is a member of the state champ scout team. So was my man, Matt Mowry. He will be joining us on the phone later in the show. Matt, along with the tremendous Chuck Pellerito, they were filming the second volume of this year's 2019 rivalry series, Stevensville Lakeshore versus St. Joseph, the war on the shore. Matt will give us the 411 shortly on that. Our producer tonight is the exceptional Kia Tyus. Now, before we begin, we want to send some love to the great companies and people who sponsor this fine program. We are presented by Lawrence Technological University. Now, if you were here last Saturday afternoon, well, then you know. You not only had the opportunity to soak in the dulcet tones of yours truly on the public address amplifier, but you also saw
move out of the way, Mason, at the not the Palace, at LCA.
Yes.
LP's coming to take your job.
That's right. But you also had an opportunity to witness the Blue Devils completely take down Wisconsin Lutheran. 34-14. 34-14 was the final. LTU's on the road tomorrow in the land of Lincoln as they take on Olivet Nazarene in an NAIA Mid-State Football Conference college football game. Trust me when I tell you, the next Gus Johnson on the mic for every game for LTU.
He's great.
That's right. It's not that he has all the catchphrases, all that, but he brings an unbridled enthusiasm and a passionate pursuit.
And such a silky smooth voice.
I was going to say, he's got great pipes. He is Jason Ross Jr., and you can watch the live stream of the game tomorrow, beginning around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Just go to ltuathletics.com. Now, I also want to deeply thank Hungry Howie's, of course, famous for flavor. Get your flavored crust. I'm really digging the Asiago crust right now. I'm digging that.
All about Asiago cheese.
Yes, absolutely. Vote right now in the Hungry Howie's Mr. Football and Amble Award competitions at our website, statechampsnetwork.com. I'd also like to thank the Michigan High School Athletic Association. They have been big supporters of state champs the last few years. We really appreciate them. You should too. Go get your scores and a lot of other great content at MHSAA.com. And I want to say this. I was at Subway before I came in here, and I want to give a shout-out to my man who his name is Jared Miles, and he played at Woodhaven. Graduated in 2010. Actually went out to California, played a little junior college football at Victor Valley, came back to Siena Heights. He's all about state champs, and I took a selfie with him. He was just
How could you not be? If you grew up playing football or basketball or any sport in this area, the love that we give you from state champs is, it's unmatched.
That's right.
You don't get this kind of attention, this kind of comprehensive coverage, really, from anyone.
That's right. And he played. His brother played at Woodhaven, and he was his senior season 2009. So I think that was the CW 50 days or the MyTV 20 days. I kind of get those eras confused, but state champ's been around a long time. So it's always great to see the fans and see people who just remember us. And I always say, hey, we're still here. We're still doing our thing. All right.
Back to the Fabulous Freddy days.
That's right.
R.I.P.
Yes, exactly. All right. It's week 4. So I'm going to give you the scores from teams ranked in the state champs top 25. And again, we appreciate all your comments. We're on Facebook Live. I think we got ourselves on Twitter. We're on YouTube Live. You're checking all that out. We love your comments. We're going to have our comment of the week at the end of the show. I'm not monitoring them right now, but we do have my man Dave Bodine in the other room, and he is holding it down. So let's get to some scores. And I did not see right off the bat Muskegon versus Grand Rapids Kenneball Hills. I did not get that score. It was not up yet. Scott can look it up for us while I'm reading these. I would be shocked if number 1 Muskegon went down, but hey, it's been that kind of year. Let's go. Number 2 Belleville was taking on Westland John Glenn. They won handily, 44-0. Chip Valley taking on New Baltimore Anchor Bay. They won 49-13. Our 4th ranked team, Muskegon Mona Shores, they took on our number 8 squad, Rockford, and it was the Rams who prevailed in that one, 34-21. The game that Scott and I were at, it was number 5 Birmingham Groves against our number 7 team Oak Park, and it was Oak Park. It was the Knights. We're going to talk about it. 26-14, the final in that one. West Bloomfield blanks Clarkston 24-0 tonight.
Defense is primed.
Yes.
They got to get that offense in gear, though, a little bit more.
No doubt. Number 10, Lake Orion. They are on a roll. They're 4-0. It was the battle for the 00 trophy.
They look great.
Versus Oxford. They win that one 35-0 tonight.
The Manzo brothers, Isaac Kinney, Blaze Lauer, Drew Van Heck at the wide receiver spot, Mitch Howell. They just got a lot of there's no recruiting stars on that roster, but they're just tough-nosed, gritty kids that are all kind of come together, gelled together for a common purpose, and they're looking like they could be a real dark horse in the OA Red Race.
I can't wait to see them. I really can't. It was number 11, Mount Pleasant, all over Bay City Central, 52-16. Orchard Lake St. Mary's and Walled Lake Western got together tonight. We have Orchard Lake St. Mary's, our number 12 team. This is our main event on State Champs, and it was the Eaglets pulling it out at the end, 38-35. There's going to be some great highlights for that one.
Unfortunately, a Mr. Football candidate, Zach Trainer, left the game at halftime, was in street clothes for the second half, took a stinger to the left shoulder, and we're going to wish him the best in getting back on the field. But the fact that playing without their potential all-state gunslinger that had thrown for over 1,000 yards in the first 3 weeks, they brought in a backup quarterback. I'm not sure what his name is, but he did a really good job in the second half. And in fact, I think Western took a lead in the fourth quarter with the backup.
Yes, absolutely. Interesting. Number 13, South Lyon beats Waterford Kettering 43-30. Our number 14 team, Livonia Franklin, in the Battle of Livonia versus Stevenson 47-25. They are winners. Brighton and Plymouth got together. This is a 15 versus a 24 matchup, and it was the Wildcats. It was Plymouth beating Brighton tonight, handing Brighton their first loss 14-7.
Didn't see that coming.
No.
After what happened last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Plymouth, they're gritty. There you talk about gritty teams just playing. I saw them last week.
I think any team that comes from that trifecta program, all on the same campus. Yeah. They're kids that are intelligent kids that love football, that play tough as nails, and they're always going to be competitive.
Yeah, young coach Jamie Dixon over there doing a really nice job. It was our number 16 team, Dearborn Fortson, beating Livonia Churchill tonight, 42-28. Granville beats Grand Haven, 27-7. Midland over Saginaw Heritage, 31-13. Davison blows out Flint Powers Catholic 48-0. We have kind of a Mr. Football watch.
Brendan Sullivan.
Yes, exactly.
The sensitional, the scintillating.
Yes, exactly.
The supersonic Brendan Sullivan.
Apparently so.
He broke out last year as a sophomore as a wide receiver catching passes from Cannon Hall. I didn't even realize he was actually a quarterback until this offseason, and people were like, you got to see this kid under center. And he is just, he's a firecracker for field general.
Yeah, we will have the highlights of that game on State Champs. Don't miss it. All right, also tonight, Romeo and Utica Eisenhower got together. We had Romeo ranked 20th going in. It was Eisenhower beating Romeo 17-7. Good win for Ike.
Yep.
All right, number 22, Zeeland West gets by Lowell fairly handily, 40-26, the final in that one. Portage Northern, 3-0, taking on East Lansing. This game went to overtime, and it was East Lansing beating Portage Northern tonight, 35-28.
They got one of the hottest recruits in the state right now, Andrell Anthony, junior wide receiver, starting to get a lot of love from the Power 5 conferences. We'll keep tracking that progress, but he is
Mr. Football candidate.
Right, he's a heck of a kind of a diamond in the rough. You don't really hear a lot about him, but he's a guy that you got to come see. It's must-see TV with him.
There you go. Number 25, Chelsea beats Ypsilanti Lincoln 28-18. We had some other key games tonight in Week 4 of the Michigan High School football series, whatever you call it, our rivalry series. Again, Lakeshore and St. Joseph. I won't give the score right now. We'll talk about that with Mount Maury in just a few minutes. Traverse City Central and Traverse City West got together. Boy, Central rolling in this one, 32-0, the final. Cass Tech and King getting together. We're going to talk about this game later.
Didn't expect to see that score.
Let's save the comments. King wins 47-7. We're going to talk about this later in storylines. Everett and Beale City got together. 2 3-0 teams. Beale City wins 35-7. Frankenmuth and Freeland got together. 2 3-0 teams. Frankenmuth wins 21-7. Grand Rapids Christian and Grand Rapids West Catholic got together. GR Christian wins 56-10. Ishpeming Westwood and Ishpeming got together. Ishpeming was 3-0 coming into this one, but it's Westwood that wins 38-0. Kingsley beats Traverse City St. Francis 26-7. They are now 4-0. Riverview and Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central. Riverview was undefeated. They get beat. St. Mary Catholic Central wins 33-16. New Lothrop over Montrose. 2 3-0 teams, 42-21. New Lothrop is 4-0. DeWitt and Holt getting together. DeWitt wins big, 42-7. Grand Rapids Forest Hills Central and Grand Rapids Forest Hills Northern. 2-1 Forest Hills Central. They're now 3-1. They win 34-7. Dexter and Jackson. Jackson 3-0 on the season coming into this one, but it's all Dreadnoughts, 57-21. Clarkston Everest Collegiate undefeated. They've only had 2 games, though, going into this one, taking on a 3-0 Bishop Foley team.
Yeah, 2 of the best small school quarterbacks in Metro Detroit, Giovanni Mastromateo under center at Clarkston Everest, and Brendan Musat under center for Bishop Foley.
Yeah, and it's Everest winning 24-13. Woodhaven and Roosevelt got together, or you could say Wyandotte down river today, and it was 2 3-0 teams, but it was Woodhaven winning 31-14. So
Josh Waters got the best of Jalen Pitchford in that quarterback battle.
Absolutely. And so that is just some of the action that took place this week in high school football. And since we were both at the game on at Oak Park tonight, let's just kind of get your quick thoughts on that big win by the Knights.
You know, since Greg Carter got here 8 years ago to Oak Park and started to turn that program around and make them, take them to a level of relevance they had really never been at, They took that first step. They haven't taken that second step yet, and I'm envisioning this year as being the year they take that second step. They have a chance to get past regionals, a chance to go to the Final Four, a chance to go to Ford Field. I mean, they certainly have the talent. They've always had the talent. A lot of blue chippers on that roster.
Yeah, always.
This year, they just seem more dialed in. The balance is more there on both sides of the ball. They're playing much more as a unit. It seems like with this group, the recruiting stars aren't as important as getting the dubs on the field. And then, for the second year in a row, Oak Park has had a real diamond in the rough, pop out of the backfield, out of nowhere. Last year it was Phil Stewart, who wasn't expected to be the starter, took the starting job and ran with it. In my opinion, he was the MVP of that OA White last year, with Oak Park getting the OA White title. They're trying to defend it this year. And then again, out of nowhere, a kid who didn't play varsity even as a junior, this was his first year on varsity as a senior, goes into camp as the number 3 back, ends up winning the job. His name is Devontae Twyman. He's a track star. He's got moves. He is smooth as silk, running in between the tackles, going around the edge. He's got a kind of an extra gear of boost going up the sidelines. He's ran for over 100 yards the last 3 weeks in a row. He didn't play week 1. In all 3 starts, his first 3 varsity starts, he's gone for over 100 yards. Today he went for 193. Last week he went for 160 against Clarkston. He is a name to really be aware of. Frank Black looks great at quarterback, replacing Dwan Mathis, who's over at Georgia right now. Malik Carr, the blue chip wide receiver, he had a 36-yard touchdown reception today. And on defense, Justin,
and he was a hobbled.
Yeah, and he
went and made that play when they needed it.
Had a high ankle sprain last week against Clarkston. Took a visit to Purdue, I know, last weekend, but didn't play every possession, not every snap, but definitely made his presence felt when he needed to. Caught a big 36-yard touchdown in the second half. And then Justin Rogers, the number 1 player in the state. He's the number 1 offensive guard in the country going to Kentucky, but the last 2 years, he is a sideline-to-sideline terror on defense out of nowhere, an agile, mobile, versatile, 6'4", 300-pound menace who looked great on defense. Groves is a really good team. This is a team that I had as number 1 in Oakland County. They've made it to the Final Four in Division II 2 of the last 3 years. They have a veteran quarterback in Marcus Alexander, and really until the fourth quarter, they couldn't do anything. The fourth quarter, Alexander threw for about, I think, 150, 160 yards in the fourth quarter, but entering that fourth quarter, he only had about 50 yards passing. The running game really wasn't doing much other than a 37-yard touchdown run that was ripped off by Ralph Donaldson, another really nice playmaker on Grove's roster. But Oak Park had their number and really imposed their will. And the balance on this team really impresses me. The leadership on this team really impresses me. And I expect this to be the year that Oak Park takes it up another notch.
Yeah, I will say this. There were two plays that Groves were trying to hit Colby
Taylor.
And just missed him over the top
he's a good
in the first quarter.
He's a slot back kid that can catch the ball out of the backfield, can run it up in between the tackles, and complements Ralph Donaldson really nicely. And
they had a nice fake run. He spread out wide open. He had a 60-something yard touchdown today.
But a name to keep an eye out for on the Oak Park roster. Didn't have a huge game today, but I think this is the next era blue chipper. He's only a sophomore. He's kind of a slot wide receiver. Reminds me a little of KJ Hamler, the Orchard Lake receiver that went off to IMG and was at Penn State. The guy I'm talking about is Davon Young, 5'10", $175, jitterbug. Looked great against Clarkson last week, caught 2 touchdowns. He had one big catch today for about 40 yards, but was kept in check mostly today. But this is a guy that I expect to be a Power 5 recruit. And you add him, you got Malik Carr to throw the ball, you got Michael Bowens, who's a great number 3 receiver, and then you got this 3-headed monster in the backfield for Oak Park, in addition to Devontae Twyman, who's looked, as we said, has just looked terrific these last 3 weeks. They got Travis Boston, who's a junior, one of the best power backs in the OAA, and they got Davion Prim, who was expected to be the number 1 running back this year at Oak Park, and Twyman's kind of unseated him, but he's a great number 2 option.
All right, so and also you got Devin Gardner, the former.
Yeah, Devin Gardner's out there. He kind of comes in. He wasn't there to start the game. I think he was scouting.
Yeah.
And then he comes in, he puts the headphones on, and he's in the quarterback's ear. And if you're Frank Black, this is his first year starting for Oak Park. He was a quarterback on JV 2 years ago, but last year he was the starting free safety for Oak Park. This is his first year starting on varsity. It's good to have a former Division I quarterback, a former, for a second was being considered in the Heisman Trophy race. Devin Gardner, kind of coming underneath his tutelage.
Yeah, Devin is training a lot of young athletes these days. I'm going to get him onto the Scout Show. I talked to him after the game, and we're going to get him very soon. We're going to talk to him. Of course, Devin Gardner played for Greg Carter when he was at Inkster.
Took him to the Ford Field twice.
And if he had not hurt his ankle or his leg, whatever it was, I really believe they win a state championship that year. They had the most unbelievable win in Ohio to get into the playoffs. It was outstanding. So I
believe he was in the backcourt on an Inkster team that either got for basketball.
Yes, for basketball.
Either got to the Final Four or to the quarterfinals.
Yes,
deep run.
Yes, they did. You're right. Exactly.
With Durant Shepard.
Yes,
as the coach.
Exactly. We have highlights of Devin Gardner as a basketball player and
that
a football player.
That DePore's influence that was at
Okay.
Inkster.
All right, we're going to take our first time out. We'll be back in just a minute, but right now it's time for you to be the referee.
Welcome to Be the Referee with veteran MHSAA official Sam Davis.
Let's check out your knowledge of high school football rules with You Make the Call. The quarterback drops back to pass and his intended receiver gets a step on the cornerback. As the ball approaches the receiver, the defensive player sticks his hands and arms out in front of the receiver's face without contact. The receiver loses sight of the ball and the pass falls to the ground. What's the call? A national high school playing rule instituted last year removed the penalty of face guarding without contact. The change brought high school football rules in line with collegiate and professional rules. The pass is incomplete, and there's no flag for defensive pass interference.
Thanks, Sam. You can be a referee. Go online now to MHSAA.com to register. Be the Referee is a production of the MHSAA Network. Thanks for listening. I'm John Johnson.
You do know you want a contest to spend the whole day with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to sit here and eat this delicious pizza?
We could do other things.
A little help?
That was the best day ever!
Some people will do anything for flavor. Now get a meal deal to fit any budget at the home of flavored crust.
Hungry?
Howie!
I chose Lawrence Tech for the architecture program and volleyball team. Architecture is a great fit for me because I love math and design. Now I combine them with technology to create beautiful structures. At Lawrence Tech, I didn't have to wait until my third year to start designing. Our hands-on education begins right from day one. And I'm really excited about LTU's Design Center in Detroit. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.
This is Alan True from 24/7 Sports with this week's State Champs Recruit Report, brought to you by My Student Aid. The Ohio State Buckeyes have made it a point to come up to Michigan and do some recruiting up here in this state. Mikey Weber is a recent example of a successful Michigan high school athlete who went down to Columbus. They're looking to make lightning strike again with a big tackle in the 21 class, as the Buckeyes have now offered Detroit Country Day offensive tackle Caleb Tiernan, a 6'8", 270-pound left tackle prospect. Central Michigan had a home game against Akron last Saturday and had several recruits from the state of Michigan down and offered scholarships to a couple of those prospects. One of them was Brendan Sullivan, a junior quarterback from Davison, who's in the midst of an outstanding start to his season for the Cardinals. 6'3", 180 pounds, Sullivan has the athleticism and size to pick up more offers, but the Chippewas were the first one on the board. For this week's State Champs Recruit Report, I'm Alan True.
The Recruit Report is brought to you by My Student Aid, Michigan's go-to resource for student financial aid. Go to michigan.gov/MIStudentAid for more information. Hey guys, welcome back to Michigan Extra Point Live. My name is Lauren Plant, joined by Scott Bernstein, and now joined on the phone, on the road somewhere. It sounds like he's on the shores of Lake Michigan at this moment. But Matt Mowry. Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing? We're trying to get a level on you here.
Not bad.
Okay. All right. Do you have the radio on there, my friend?
Yes.
Okay. You should.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
You should turn that off. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
So we are waiting for Matt Mowry to come back on the line.
I'm wondering if
I'm still here.
Oh, well. There you go. How you doing? How you doing, my friend?
I am still here.
All right, you are.
How was the game?
You are on your way home, so I can tell the people that the home team was prevailed in the War on the Shore tonight as St. Joseph won 22-14 over Stevensville Lakeshore. Tell us about your experience today.
Well, we knew this was going to be another one of those rivalry games. Figured it might be a little closer than the one we had last week, which ended up being a little bit of a blowout up in Manistee. And it was everything we expected it would be. St. Joe jumped out early. Troy Prattley scored on St. Joe's second play from scrimmage on a 77-yard run, but he wouldn't make it out of the first half as he got injured on his non-throwing shoulder. On a strip sack, and so they had to. The backup quarterback Andy Blomgren had to come in and play the majority of the rest of the game, and it was kind of a game of next man up for St. Joe all night long. They had to bring in several guys, kept cramping up. Jeremiah Sterling, their starting running back, kept cramping up. So Griffin Shinrock and Connor Levanway kept having to come in for him, and spell him. So I guess the quote of the day was from injured St. Joe quarterback Troy Prattley, who said, "Apparently we don't drink enough water, but we'll change that." They get out on that 77-yard run by Prattley in the first quarter. They have another touchdown called back because of a face mask, but they ended up getting a 34-yard field goal to go up 10-0. Those would be the only offensive points they would get. They would return the second half kickoff. Griffin Shinrock returned the second half kickoff 90 yards for a score.
Nice.
And then Levanway had a 56-yard pick six, his first of his career, to make it 22-7. But Lakeshore just never really went away. Jimmy Gillette, the quarterback over there, who last year was at St. Joe. This is the son of former Michigan kicker Mike Gillette, if you remember. He was a St. Joe grad.
He hit a pretty famous game winner against Iowa in the 1980s.
Exactly. Yeah, that's who we're talking about. This is Jimmy, and we kind of figured he might have a chance to make a kick, but really the game was never over. Lakeshore takes advantage of a fumbled snap with just under 6 minutes left, and Zeke Roll pounds it in from 2 yards out to make it a one-score game again, but it was never really over until Shinrock had the game-sealing interception with 40 seconds left, and it was a huge monkey off the back for St. Joe, which hadn't beat Lakeshore in 8 tries. It had been since 2013 in the regular season. These are teams that every once in a while will hook up in the postseason. I think they'd lost a couple of postseason games, and they'd lost every regular season game to Lakeshore. So this being the first year for Andrew Prattley and Troy Prattley at St. Joe's, a heck of a way to start out in the rivalry. They finally get that anchor trophy back at St. Joe High School, and it had been a rivalry that had been a little lopsided in recent years, and then there was a long stretch in there too when Denny Dock was still the Lakeshore coach, where they won, I believe, 17 straight at one point. So it had been St. Joe had really dominated the rivalry in the early years, and then Lakeshore kind of came roaring back in more recent years and ended up taking over the series. But really good this is the first 4-0 start for St. Joe since 2013, and it's got to be a real good feeling for them right now.
Absolutely. And wasn't last week kind of an upset too with Ludington winning?
Yeah, Ludington hadn't won in a while. It was an upset from that aspect.
Okay.
Yes, that they hadn't won in a while, and Manistee was coming off a better regular season. They went undefeated last year, and it was not nearly as much of a nail biter as tonight's game was, because that game was early in the second half was effectively over.
Okay. All right. So we're going to keep Matt on for the rest of the show. He's going to stay with us because we're going to get into storylines. So we're going to keep Matt here. We're going to take another quick timeout, but let me read you this first. You need to go check out the MHSAA Health and Safety page. All right. Some great information there. And did you hear the news that studies of high school football players from 50 to 60 years ago did not, and I repeat, not show an increased risk of neurological disorders compared to their non-playing classmates, and the game now is a lot safer than it was then. So, high school sports, including football, have never been safer. Sports participation is a good part of a young person's overall education. Learn more at the Health and Safety page of the MHSAA website. This is a message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association promoting the value and values of educational athletics. We'll be right back.
You do know you want a contest to spend the whole day with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to sit here and eat this delicious pizza?
We could do other things.
A little help?
That was the best day ever! Some people will do anything for flavor. Now get a meal deal to fit any budget at the home of flavored crust.
Hungry? Howie!
I chose Lawrence Tech for the architecture program and volleyball team. Architecture is a great fit for me because I love math and design. Now I combine them with technology to create beautiful structures. At Lawrence Tech, I didn't have to wait until my 3rd year to start designing. Our hands-on education begins right from day one. And I'm really excited about LTU's Design Center in Detroit. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.
All right, hey everybody, welcome back to Michigan Extra Point Live. We are on the stretch run here, and we're a little behind schedule. You know, we try to want to keep this thing right about half hour. We're always running a little bit longer than that, but you know, again, we get into conversations, and this is how it goes. So we're going to get into our segment we call storylines here, and we've got a few of them. So the big one and the big takeaway, and Matt Mowry's still on the line with us. Matt, you're still there, right?
Hi, I'm still here.
All right, you're still there. Okay, the loser of the Cass King game is now 1-3, which is...
I haven't seen Cass look like this in probably 15, 20 years.
Right, so Cass loses today in big fashion. They fall to King. What was the score? 47-7. And it was interesting because I was looking at a couple of notes. Last time they got together, 2018 PSL title. Cass wins 42-8. But that was the Jalen Graham and Lou Nichols show. Graham is now a safety at Purdue. He had 4 tackles versus Nevada in week 1. Props.
Yep.
Lou Nichols running the rock for Central Michigan.
Starting job.
Yeah.
Jalen earned a starting job.
Yeah. And Lou Nichols running the rock for Central Michigan, averaging about 6 carries a game as he gets his footing in college football. To start the season, Cass loses to Chicago Wendell Phillips 28-9. Wasn't even that close. However, Phillips were undefeated coming into tonight. They were Illinois state champs in 2017. Lost last year in the second round of the playoffs to the eventual state champion, so that's a good team. Cass also lost to an Ohio St. Edward team, 41-20. But this was a team ranked 10th nationally a year ago that also won the state title. So 2 really tough teams to begin the year. They beat Detroit Western, 24-6 a week ago.
But wait, what? Just look at that score right there.
24-6?
24-7?
Yeah.
Or 24-6?
Yeah.
Does that sound like a Cass team from 2 years ago? Would they have beaten Western 24-6? No, they would have beaten them 65-6.
Right. So King also loses their state champion, Mr. Football quarterback to graduation.
What college-bound players does Detroit Western have?
I don't think any.
They don't have any. How many does Cass Tech have?
Maybe their basketball team.
Cass Tech have, even with the 1-3 record right now, Cass Tech still has a dozen guys on their roster that are going to play Division I college football.
Right.
So the fact that they only beat Western 24-6, that's a telltale.
Yeah. I do want to shout out Daquan Finn. He's at Toledo. Saw a little time last week. Probably like a Wildcat situation. He ran for 19 yards on 2 carries versus Murray State. Obviously, King with a freshman at the helm now. So King loses by 2 to Detroit Catholic Central, lost to Muskegon by a lot in week 2, blanked Osborne 48-0. So this week was a big game for both teams, and it's King that really shows they are the class.
Cass just does not have the offensive playmakers right now. To do the damage they need on offense to drive this squad.
Yeah, and King really needed this.
Yeah. But but you still have, like I said, we still have the college-bound players on this roster.
Yeah.
They got a big line. They don't have any great running backs. Their quarterback has been a little, he's a senior that's in his first year starting, Sebastian Brown.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve there. I think one of the King brothers weren't playing today.
Right.
They've got a lot of guys that have potential and guys that you look at and you can see that, if you polish it up a little bit, this is a team that could be a contender. But right now, there's some soul searching that needs to be done.
How about Matt Maurer? Your quick thoughts.
Well, Scott and I have talked about how much, as Scott said, how much talent that Cass Tech team does still have, especially on the lines. And you'd think that if they can cobble something together playmaker wise to go behind that huge, enormous offensive line, I mean, that's a great place to start if you have a line like that. But yeah, it's mind boggling that the loser of this game, whoever it was going to be 1-3. And they'll be able to pick up some steam throughout the PSL season, but that's still a long way away from where these two teams were ranked, I believe, top 5 at the same time late in the season last year.
And last year they didn't just have Lou Nichols in the backfield; they also had Jared Mangum.
So you
had a thunder and lightning PSL package there that could have gone toe to toe with any backfield in the state.
Yeah.
So you lose that, you lose your starting quarterback that's now playing in the Big Ten in the secondary. It's a lot to replace, but we've learned at least over the last 10 years since Cass Tech made that jump from a good team of the PSL to a nationally ranked program on a regular basis. We just haven't seen this type of football from Cass Tech in that time period. So it's a little bit head scratching.
Yes. We had a note here that Clarkston West Bloomfield essentially an elimination game in the OAA Red, and I think we just eliminated Clarkston.
Clarkston's sitting at 1-3 right now. They got shut out tonight. Was it 20-0? 24-0?
Yeah. Yes.
24-0. Exactly. It seems like we didn't want to harp too much on this, and I don't want to get too much into the gossip, into the rumor mills and whatnot. But what we know as a fact is that KR and his defensive coordinator parted ways in the weeks before the season, and they had to put a new coordinator in there. And it just seems that in addition to some other things, has been, something putting them behind the 8 ball a little bit. Last week they gave up 64 points. It was a little bit deceiving. That was a 1-point game in the fourth quarter, which they had the lead with about 5 minutes to go on Oak Park. Gave up 3 touchdowns late and ended up giving up 64 points. I don't know the last time Clarkson gave up that many points. So I think defensively they all got to get on the same page. They have a really nice quarterback in Mike DePillo, one of the best sophomore signal callers in the state, in my opinion. A guy that has a lot of potential. Matt Miller, great wide receiver. But outside of that, they don't have a ton of offensive playmakers. They got the 2 blue chippers on the line, Dellinger and Spindler. But, they're looking for answers right now, too.
Yeah, they'll have Rochester Adams and Lake Orion in week 7 and 8, and then a crossover, which will be tough.
I don't know how many people know about the defensive coordinator situation because it hasn't really been publicized that much.
Yeah.
But the fact that they lost their DC, less than a month from the season, I think it was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the season started.
Yeah.
There's a transition and some growing pains in that transition, obviously.
Yeah. And a good win for West Bloomfield, right, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of figured that West Bloomfield, obviously we had them ranked number 1 to start the season. That's a very good defensive team. I think the offense is still a work in progress.
Yep.
I mean, obviously they've had some struggles. They've got playmakers. They just have to figure out how to best utilize them. And we knew they had some rebuilding to do along the line, but that defense is so solid. I mean, we talked about it when they played Oak Park. Those are 2 really, really good championship caliber defenses. And I think we're continuing to see that as those 2 teams progress along the season. And like you said, Scott, Clarkston, I think a lot of people expected this kind of, step backwards from Clarkston be 1, maybe 2 years ago, but the fact that they just kept churning it out, that was the amazing part. So it got to the point where it was almost like, well, I guess they're going to keep doing this. And I think this is rightfully the time where we kind of see them take that little step back. And as you said, they've got some younger kids that they're going to be able to build around, and Clarkston is still going to be Clarkston, but it's going to be, as you said, Lauren, that's a tough road to hoe with the next couple of weeks, even for them, with Adams and a resurgent Lake Orion team that looks like it's got all the confidence in the world right now.
No doubt about it.
I would not be shocked at all if at the end of the year we're crowning Lake Orion champions of the OAA Red. And I would have never said that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that is true. I think we've got the makings of a really wide-open Catholic League Central division this year. Yes. Orchard Lake obviously gets a big win today in beating Walled Lake Western.
35.
Yeah, absolutely. Catholic Central gets back on the winning front, and they went ahead and beat Jesuit 31-15. UD Jesuit. We got a big game tomorrow night right here at Lawrence Tech.
I will be there.
Brother Rice and De La Salle.
Under the lights.
Under the lights. It's going to be a big battle. Brother Rice, in Orchard Lake right now, still the only undefeated teams. Obviously, we'll see what happens tomorrow with Rice. Orchard Lake now at 4-0.
And Rice was picked last in the Catholic League.
Yes, they were.
At Media Day in the preseason coaches poll. Everyone just completely disregarded them, pushed them to the side. They were an afterthought. And Coach K and the crew are saying, not so fast, guys.
And I guess as we do a little preview here of tomorrow night's game, does Brother Rice have it enough defensively to hold off De La Salle?
I mean, I would say based on what I saw the first 3 weeks, they do.
They've only given up 10 points
this
season. Yeah. But De La Salle had 122 coming into this game. So what are your thoughts, Matt, on that matchup tomorrow night?
Well, it's going to be. We talked. Scott and I had talked earlier in the season about wondering kind of where some of the scoring was going to come from for De La Salle, just because they're replacing so many moving parts on offense, and we know how good their defense has been over the last couple of years. I think this is really Rice's chance to make a statement about them being back. I mean, if you want to call it back, because as you said, I think we're going to go through the season and we're going to continue every week to say, oh, this is a huge game in the Catholic League Central. Oh, this is a huge game, because they're just going to knock each other off left and right. I don't think there's going to be an unbeaten championed in the Central the way there has been, some of the recent years. I know last year there wasn't even. So it's going to be one of those where I think Rice could very well win this week and then lose the next week, and it's going to be a lot of back and forth, and it's probably going to be a 1 or 2 loss team that takes the title.
All right, a couple more quick here on storylines. Did we just decide the OAA white title tonight?
I would say yes. I don't see anyone beating Oak Park in the league schedule right now. It was a week 4 battle for the league.
And we haven't said this very often. It's really said the white pretty much figured out.
Well, because
right
this
now.
is the first year that it's not a 3-team race. Harrison is no longer.
That's right.
So now North Farmington and Farmington are both took the Harrison program and kind of split it, and now they're in the OA blue. But in the white for the last handful of years, was like who's going to win it? Groves, Oak Park, Harrison.
Yep.
In fact, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago they actually finished in a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
So it was always a 3-team race. Now it's down to a 2-team race. The 2 teams played in week 4. Oak Park won, and I think they're going to coast to the title. The question really for Oak Park, we've seen them have good regular seasons. I've said this at the beginning of the broadcast, I need to see them take that next step as a program where they're knocking on the door or busting the door down and contending and winning state championships the way that we expect Greg Carter clubs to have done in the past.
Right.
What he did at DeBoer with his 5 state titles.
Yep.
He did at Inkster when he got to Ford Field 2 times.
We've been waiting for
this program under with Carter at the helm has only, I believe, won 3 districts in the 8 years. Have only gotten to the regionals, I think, 3 times, but have not gone past that point in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And I would say also for those Harrison fans out there, North Farmington is 4-0.
And they look great. They're steamrolling the comp with that entire Harrison staff, Mill the Thrill, Herstein moving into the head coaching spot, Harrington going from the head coaching spot to the assistant coaching spot, Dave Thorne moving over there and running the defense like he'd been doing at Harrison.
Billy
for all those
Slobin
years.
still the
He's
strength
the strength
coach.
and conditioning coach who I've never seen the guy not wear a tank top, shorts, and flip flops. No, it could be 20 degrees out, it could be 150 degrees out. He's wearing the same uniform, but they have a really good quarterback and a junior transfer from Cranbrook, Jacob. I don't want to. Bo Samra.
Good call.
Bo Samra. That's what it is.
Bo Samra. Yeah.
Bo Samra.
Okay.
Who's looked really nice in getting the tools of the trade from Mill the Thrill Coleman. We just talked about Frank Black learning from Devin Gardner. Doesn't get any better than learning from someone like Mill the Thrill.
Yeah.
And Jacob's done a great job. And then another couple guys to look for: Eddie Lenton, under the radar, great wide receiver. Justice Clark is a basketball player that's playing football for the first time. He's having a breakout season at split end. And then Miles Gresham is a pretty dynamic running back.
All right, and just one last thing real quick, and if I appear shiny on the video screen today, it's because I was spraying myself with off containing DEET tonight out there because there is this mosquito virus threat out there, y'all. So I want to make sure that you guys know what's up. In fact, they actually this actually was in the Washington Post. They actually picked up MLive's post. They moved the start of games, a lot of games tonight from 7, especially out on the southwest side of the state, to 5 and 5:30 because, in fact, the Bangor Cassopolis game tonight I think started at 4 just because of this threat. It's the EEE mosquito or virus that happens, and it's spread to horses and humans through mosquitoes that feed on infected birds. Only 4 to 5% of people. I'm getting deep here, y'all.
Wow.
Only 4 to 5% of people infected with the virus get sick, but this is serious. Because it's deadly. So if you can stay indoors around dusk when the mosquitoes come out, do. But if you get these symptoms, including chills, fever, malaise, joint pain, muscle pain, then you want to go get checked out. Although I don't know, there's not a whole lot they could do for you at that point. But still go to the doctor. But it says many people who survive are left with brain dysfunction, personality disorders, seizures, or other mental and physical issues. I know. I apologize. So stay clear of standing water. Wear long sleeves if you can, even though it's probably going to be pretty hot. But You can go to
Be safe. Just be safe.
You can go to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. They've got all the information on that. So just be careful when you're out there. So, all right, real quick, we're going to end the show here by going to a little bit of a preview of what we're going to expect next week. So I'm just going to run down the list of games that we're going to be looking forward to, and then Matt will get your final comments, and then we'll get Scott's. First off, Matt, the rival series, he'll be at Stockbridge and Leslie renewing their rivalry in the Lansing area. This is a classic rivalry. It's going to be really fun to check that out. West Bloomfield at Lake Orion next week. Macomb, Dakota at Chip Valley. De La Salle at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Grand Blanc at Davison. Flint Powers at Lapeer. East Lansing at DeWitt. Saginaw Swan Valley at Frankenmuth. Woodhaven at Allen Park, North Farmington at Avondale, Fenton at Flint Kearsley, East Kentwood at Granville, Port Huron at Grosse Pointe South, Chelsea at Jackson, Marshall at Jackson Lumen Christi, Seaholm at Rochester Adams, Bishop Foley at Royal Oak Shrine, Delton Kellogg at Schoolcraft, and Byron Center will travel to Zeeland West. Those are just a few games to look forward to in Week 5. What are you looking forward to?
I'll tell you right now, we just saw the Week 4 battle for the OA White between Groves and Oak Park. Well, next week, Week 5, will be a battle, in my opinion, for the OA Red title between Lake Orion and West Bloomfield. Whoever wins that game is winning the league championship, so I'm jacked for that.
Matchup. How about you, Matt?
I obviously am looking forward to the rival series.
Yes, of course you are.
In the Greater Lansing Activities Conference.
Yes.
It's going to be two rebuilding teams, and Leslie has a new coach and athletic director this year, and Greg Piscadna, who came from the college ranks, coached at Alma College and I believe Defiance before that. So we're looking at two teams that are kind of on a maybe not quite the high that some of the Lakeshore and St. Joe teams were on this week. So we'll get to see teams that are kind of a little further back on the growth curve.
Okay, we're going to end tonight with our comments of the week presented by the MHSAA on Facebook. Scott Wardell mentioned that Lake Orion big blanking of Oxford tonight and mentioned the Dragons' unbelievable start against 4 strong teams. I think we did that. Yep. On YouTube, John said, just do something on Farmington for once. Farmington 53-14 over Ferndale. They are 4-0.
Yeah, Max Martin, who was the quarterback for the first half of the year at Harrison last year, he's moving. He's moved over to Farmington. It's got that offense in high gear. They've got Alan Roberson is another guy that came over there. Miles Hunt is another guy that came over doing a really good job. And you add it to Jordan Turner, who's been at Farmington the last 4 years. He's going to Wisconsin, maybe the best linebacker outside of Cornell Wheeler in the OAA. They got a lot of weapons. They surprised people last year by making a pretty deep tournament run. They won the district. Great job by Coach Corey. Does a great job there, and Farmington is really they took a little dip back for a couple of years, and it looks like they're moving forward right now.
All right, and also STP 77 Rising said, nice win by Eisenhower over a seemingly flawless Romeo team. I never know what to expect each week. What's your thoughts on Ike here, Matt?
Well, we knew it was going to be kind of a toss-up. I mean, obviously Chip Valley was the defending state champs, but the rest of the league everybody was kind of trying to figure out what they had. And Romeo, as we said, was really banged up last year and was on a roll. So this is a big win for Ike, just to kind of get back on the track as one of the contenders in the MAC Red.
And Blake Ristighi is an underrated field general, one of the more undervalued playmakers in the MAC.
All right, guys, so real quick, that is our show for tonight. I do want to tell you some of the games that you'll be able to see on State Champs Michigan this weekend. Of course, it airs 9 a.m. on Fox Sports Detroit and various times throughout the week, but it'll also be on our website, statechampsnetwork.com, and all over our social media all weekend long. Please check back beginning late tonight. We'll have highlights from the Cass Tech King game. We'll have highlights from Detroit Loyola and Ann Arbor Gabriel Richard. We will also have highlights from the Davison at Flint Powers game tonight. Big win by Davison. And we'll also have the main event, which is Orchard Lake St. Mary's and Walled Lake Western. And our out-of-town packages, we are going to have on this week's show, we'll have Rockford, the Muskego Mona Shores Rockford game, Sparta versus Grand Rapids Catholic Central. We'll have highlights of that. Also, Holt versus DeWitt, Fowler versus Langsburg, and the Ishpeming versus Ishpeming Westwood game. So lots of highlights on State Champs this weekend. Please check it out. Please follow. Please like. Please subscribe. It is, I'm telling you, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Your, participation on social media with us is what drives us and is what is going to keep us going and keep us alive.
It's our lifeblood.
That's right. We want to keep this ship sailing, so it's real important. And so share the content, like, subscribe, comment, be a part of everything we're doing here.
We're almost halfway done with the football season, regular season.
That's right. That's right. Also, a lot of other great highlights, other sports on State Champs as well. So make sure you check it out. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you to Lawrence Technological University. Good luck tomorrow. Also, thank you to the MHSAA and to Hungry Howies. We will see you guys next week.